Hey guys, welcome back to the Unfiltered Gamer card game review. Today's game at the tabletop is called Emberwatch. Emberwatch is a 2 to 6 player game. It takes about 30 minutes to 60 minutes to play, depending on the number of players, and about ages, I would say 10 and up. This says 8 though. In the game of Emberwatch, you're going to be a traveling sorcerer or magician or whatever, and you're basically trying to answer the plea of a town's call for help. The town is overrun by monsters, and unfortunately there's 4 super scary monsters in the town. You got sea dragons you gotta deal with, horned dragons, sea serpents, and hydras. And you need to go about killing these guys in order throughout the town. And if you can do that before any of the other traveling mercenaries can do that, then you're going to be the winner. The game is a basic draft deck building game. We're going to do that first. Then afterwards you're going to be playing cards, playing spells, as well as using town pooled cards throughout the game, and going back and forth trying to defeat monsters. The monsters get progressively more difficult as the game goes on, but it's a simple basic game that involves just simply playing cards and using them to your benefit before your opponents can get to you, and that added little take that kind of actions with these special little town cards. Alright, let me go ahead and show you the game. So here's the game, Emberwatch, and as you can see it's already fully set up. There is in the middle of the board here these town cards. You're going to be choosing, I think it's the number of players plus 2 or 4. No, it's 4. Or more, or if there's more players, it's more. So 5, it's 5, 6, it's 6, but it's always at least 4. The rest of them are going to be put to the side, so you only need 4 of them at any point in time. You also got this big fat stack of cards, which you'll be drafting with, a starting player hand, which is normally only 4 cards, but when it's a 2 or 3, I think it's 2 or 3 player game, you give every single player an extra chain lightning card for their base hand or base deck. Also, every player has to defeat 4 monsters, and they're represented by this die here, which indicates the number of health they have. And on the other side is going to be the amount of damage that each monster does to the monsters that you're fighting it with. There's a couple extra die for additional players, but that's basically the setup. So, to begin the game is pretty simple. These are your starting cards, and to illustrate, there are little symbols at the top right-hand corner of the starting, for which ones are starting. So you're going to take that, put them to the side, and then you can do a couple different ways of the game involving drafting a deck, which is 16 cards plus your base cards. And the way I like best is the way I'm going to explain it. So the first thing you're going to need to do is take this card, these cards here, and you take 4 of them for one player and 4 of them for another, depending on how many players there are. And then you're going to draft. You're going to look at one of the cards, you're going to choose one and pass, and so on and so forth. Is kind of how it's going to work. Oops, sorry. This actually goes here. Then you're going to pass them, pick another, and then after that, once you've picked 2 of the 4, these cards will go ahead and get discarded. Then you're going to do that again. Choose 4 and choose 4 more. And then you're going to each draft and get 2 cards apiece. And you're going to keep doing that until you get 16 cards. We got 4 here already, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. After that, you're going to then take your starting cards along with your deck of drafted cards, and you're going to go ahead and shuffle them up into making your basic deck. After you've gone ahead and done that, you're going to take your starting hand, which is going to be 4 cards for each player, and you're going to begin the game. Now, what happens is the first thing you do is you all have 3 mana to start with, and the cards will indicate how much mana they cost. You've also got something called influence, and you got 4 of it at any point in time. The cards here show the influence amount that each card requires. So this requires 1 influence out of the 4. This is 1 over here, and these things are spells here. To start your turn, you have 3 mana always. That's the base amount of mana you have. However, you can get more if you put cards down, and so on and so forth. The beginning of your turn, you also have the option to choose any of these town cards and put them in front of you or in your hand or whatever. And then you also have the option, if you already have that card in front of you, then you can actually play it. So unfortunately, first turn of the game you can only choose one, so we got to choose the card, and then he has to wait till next turn to be able to play it. If it's not there in front, you can't go ahead and choose it. So this player won't be able to do that next turn. He can't pick that one specific card, but he's got 3 other ones to choose from. Now, this player has 4 cards to use, so he'll go ahead and pick, let's go ahead and say the Acidic Ooze. This is going to cost 1 influence and 2 mana, so he only has 1 mana left. And it says if this is your only minion, it may attack the turn it is played. So it gets to attack instantaneously. That's awesome. 2 points of damage and a single health. So he, if he wants, can attack normally, or abnormally, which is like basically a a charge. However, if you played it and it didn't have this ability, you would simply tap it or just make sure that you can't use it this turn. But he does. So how's attacking work? Pretty simple. You're going to be attacking these monsters here, and you want to kill all 4 of them before your opponents. So he can, if he wants, attack this monster to this one. And you're going to just say, okay, they attack to the defense, or they attack to the health of this monster, which brings it down to 8, from 2 to 8, from 10. And then you got this defense of 1, and this monster has an attack of 1. So 1 and 1, which would kill this monster, and you put it in your discard pile right there. If your monster had more defense than this monster had attack, your monster would stay on the field. So it's either an all or nothing game. With your 1 mana left, you can go ahead and choose to play another card. This is a Chain Lightning. It says you can spend any amount of mana to choose a minion from each player with a defense equal to that. And then with the amount of mana you spent, you can destroy the minion that is targeted. However, nobody else has minions, so you can't play that card. Afterward, you're going to then take 2 new cards at the end of your turn and put them into your hand. This is your field, which he has nothing currently. And then the next player is going to get to go. He's going to go ahead and take 2 cards. And remember, this deck here, of all these extra cards, are not going to be used for the rest of the game. You're just using your basic personalized deck that you used while you were drafting. So he's got these cards here. This assassin here is for free. It says you may only play this minion if you control another monster with 4 or more attacks. So you can't play him, unfortunately. But this golem you can play for 1, and only costs 1 of the influence. However, you have to discard 2 cards in order to play him. So that's fine. I'll discard the assassin, and I'll go ahead and discard 1 of the Chain Lightnings. I don't need that for right now. And I have 2 more mana left, so I can play a skeleton. And this skeleton doesn't cost any influence at all. So I still have 3 more influence left. So you can have more than 4 monsters on the field if you play it right, play your cards right, so to speak. Also remember, you get to take a card from the pool here, so they can be used for the next round. And then he can choose a next turn to attack, because remember, these guys can't attack the first time to the Sea Dragon, unlike the other monster that happened. Then, rinse and repeat. The next player gets to go again and chooses any of his stuff. Up to 3 mana, he can play this 1 card, bringing it back to the pool, and allows him to draw an extra card, as well as playing monsters. And if he had any monsters that were untapped or usable, he could fight these monsters. Any damage that would go past would actually get trickled down to the next monster. So if he only had 2 health on this monster here, then he did 3 damage. Instead of 15 health, it would start with 14 health. And so on and so forth. The idea is to kill all the monsters, and once you get to the last monster here, which does 4 damage and has 20 health, the Hydra, if you can get him down from 20 to 0, you are the winner of the game Emberwatch. Okay, so that's a basic idea of how you play the game Emberwatch. We're going to get into a couple little details here, just so you understand that there's a bunch of different little combinations like that oriented in the game. First of all, there is that, obviously, that amount of influence you're going to be using for each monster, and you can only have 4 on the field total, just like you only get 3 mana. However, some monsters are going to cost more than 1 influence, even up to 3 influence, as well as some of them are going to cost no influence at all. Now, it's interesting because those monsters with more influence are definitely going to be stronger and have more abilities, but yet you're going to be able to play less monsters on the field. Whereas monsters with almost no influence are free, like this little harpy here. It's 3 damage and 4 health. Very, very good. But you have to discard 2 cards in order to play this guy. I would consider this to be a good monster, even at the cost of the cards. Here's another one for 0, which is simply, for 0 influence, which is actually 2 mana, and you get, instead of discarding the 2 cards, you just get a 2/1. This guy here is a Enraged Bull. You can discard 2 cards for this one and only cost 1, and it's a 2/2. So there's a big variety of different cards, as well as spells too, like Super Strength here. If you have 4 intelligence slots filled, all of your minions gain 1 attack and 1 defense. Or influence spots filled. All your minions gain bonuses. These are actually really cool as well. So you can add up all those 0 influence monsters, as well as make maybe 2 really big ones, and then you throw this bad boy down, and bam, you've got a ton of bonuses and whatnot. As well as, there's just tons of different spells like that involved in the game. But nevertheless, you're just going through trying to destroy the monsters in the game. If you can beat them all, you're the winner. And it's very, very, very simple. So what do I think of the game? Well, first of all, the first thing you look at is the box artwork. It's kind of like a Game Crafter style. I am hoping that it will be vamped up with some kind of, like, I don't know, just something on it. It just goes kind of blank. And even the background, actually the back of it has, like, tells you the story of the game, and then gives you, like, the designer's notes on the back of it. I'd prefer to see more of what the game looks like and how it's set up, just, you know, all that kind of stuff. and instead of the players like that being on the front, it could be on the back as well. The artwork in the game, when you look at it, is simply symbology. You know, like the raging bull is literally a symbol of a raging bull, a forest fairy is a symbol of a little fairy, harpy. It's all like this. So I think it's going to be one of those love it or hate it type of things. Some people that were playing the game with me didn't mind it. They thought it was kind of interesting. It is very unique. I've never seen a game that's solely based on symbology. Usually this kind of artwork is left for like dice or for like little symbols that explain what the cards do, but in this case it is the artwork for all of the cards. For me, it wasn't terrible, and it is kind of a unique thing, a unique like style, so I do give points on that aspect, and I think some of them are actually really cool, and they illustrate exactly what the cards are. Like a forest fairy, this does look like one, and they have symbols for everything, so they're very, very unique. But I can see how a lot of people would not like the artwork to this game, to be honest. Also, drafting experience is pretty fun. If you like drafting, it's got that aspect to it, and it makes it fairly balanced when you're making your decks, as well as these starting cards all work, and they're beneficial, especially the chain lightning cards are very useful for that aspect, because there's not a lot of cards that are going to be doing damage to your opponent's monsters and whatnot from you. It's mainly going to be from the monsters that are fighting in the arena or in the town. Also, the game has a tendency to have some monsters that are stronger than others, that are very powerful. I thought it did a little bit. Other people were playing thought it was pretty balanced, so I think it'd be probably up to you guys to decide based on the cards you look through. But the game's good. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing it. I had to go through each and every monster. In fact, I ended up winning the game, so I like that even more. But you have to go through each and every monster, and as you kill the monsters, if you have a 3/3 and the monster only has 1 damage and 10 health, that your 3/3 is not going to die unless an opponent gets rid of it. But on the third monster, that's when stuff starts getting wily or crazy, because you got the sea dragon, which is a 110, and the horned hydra, which is a 215, or horned dragon, and you got 320, which is the sea serpent. So all your monsters with 3 health are going to die in this one. And then for the Hydra, you literally have to sacrifice your monsters, because it's going to be very unlikely if you keep any monsters with more than 4 defense. I don't think there even is any in the deck. There are some combinations that can get you there, though, which is very useful at this point, which makes the game change as you're playing it. First, it's more of like keeping your monsters alive, to finally just starting to dump them, as well as using abilities or actions to destroy the monster's health. And there's a bunch of different like spells that can do that. Overall, though, the game is engaging. It is fun. It just feels a little bland. So it's going to be up to you as to whether I think the game is fun. But I personally did enjoy the game, and most people who are playing with us enjoyed it as well.